So the Oscars were a couple nights ago, and overall, I would say this was surprisingly a better ceremony than usual. Not only was the host decent, not only was the presentation of the show pretty good, but a lot of the winners I thought were actually deserving. So I'm going to talk about a lot about the Oscars last night, talk about the winners, talk about the show itself, talk about the host, performers, the presenters, pretty much anything that came up last night during the show. So I'm gonna go by category at least, and then kind of because I'll say best picture for last and everything. So I'll go by how they did it in the show. So first award for the night was best animated feature, which everyone knew was gonna go to Pinocchio, so they got that one out of the way. Mostly deserving. I think it was like a very well made, well crafted movie. Definitely a movie that definitely tugged on the heartstrings a bit. I'm not really surprised that movies like say Puss in Boots: Last Wish didn't win. I'm glad it was nominated, but it had no chance of winning. But I thought Pinocchio actually did a really good job, and admittedly, it was the best Pinocchio movie of last year. Then we moved on to Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress. Ke Huy Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Supporting Actor, which was not a big surprise. He was great in that movie. His speech was great. Everyone was just so emotional during his speech. It was really well done. Even before he even gave his speech, Ariana DeBose read his name, and she just started sobbing. It was really sweet. It was really well done. He was great in that movie. But then let's go to Best Supporting Actress. Jamie Lee Curtis won for Everything Everywhere All at Once as well. And honestly, of all the wins this movie got, this may be the least deserving. I felt like Jamie Lee Curtis, of all the nominees, was probably the weakest. I thought Angela Bassett was better. I thought Hong Chow was better. I thought Carrie Condon was better. Stephanie Hsu I thought was better in Everything Everywhere All at Once, but they didn't give it to her. Her speech was fine. She was definitely very emotional. She was definitely very humble with her win, even though, she mentioned that her parents, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, were also Oscar nominees at one point, and now that she finally has one, it was definitely very full circle for her. I guess it was nice, but I was also kind of just upset that Angela Bassett didn't win, for instance. To go over the ones that really impressed me. Best cinematography went to All Quiet on the Western Front, which I guess that's not really a big surprise. The best cinematography category was off this year. I don't know what they were thinking with this category. So, All Quiet on the Western Front one, which I think of all the nominees, I think it is the most deserving in retrospect. Elvis had pretty good cinematography. Tar only for that 1 10-minute take. But the other two, why? Top Gun Maverick was right there. The Batman was right there. Even Roger Deakins, who was nominated that night, was like, yeah, the Batman had the best cinematography of the year. But the Academy didn't nominate it. What were they thinking? That's not really a big surprise that it won, though. Best makeup and hairstyling. That went to The Whale. I know some people are upset about that. Honestly, I would have preferred seeing a movie like The Batman win. Not because, The Batman was a great movie and everything. I love The Batman. But I also just feel like Colin Farrell, when he was dressed up as the Penguin, it was definitely more transformative. I definitely didn't really recognize it was Colin Farrell until it was the end credits. It was really good makeup, where I could still kind of see Brendan Fraser in the fat suit, but I'm definitely going to talk about Brendan Fraser in this video. I just felt like this was not really the best win, honestly. Best costume design went to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Ruthie Carter previously won this category when the first Black Panther came out. Good for her. Then we went to Best International Feature Film, which was All Quiet on the Western Front, which is not really a big surprise because it was the only film in that category that was at least nominated for something other than Best International Movie. It was obviously nominated for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, a bunch of Oscars, and it won a couple more that night. Best Production Design and Best Original Score also went to All Quiet on the Western Front. Those two were big surprises. I figured Production Design was going to go to something like Elvis or Babylon, but no, I guess it was All Quiet on the Western Front. That was a bit disappointing, but good for them, I guess. Best Original Score, All Quiet on the Western Front won that as well. I don't like that. I felt like the score from Babylon was so much better than this. Even though I don't really love Babylon and I would prefer watching All Quiet on the Western Front over Babylon again, I thought the score was better in Babylon, if I'm being honest. But again, good for them. Best Visual Effects went to Avatar: The Way of Water, which is not a big surprise. Best Original Screenplay, Best Adapted Screenplay. Best Original Screenplay went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Good for them. I'm surprised that I kind of figured it was going to go to something like The Banshees of Inisherin just to give it something because they had 9 nominations. But no, it didn't. Best Adapted Screenplay went to Women Talking, which I don't really like that. I thought the screenplay was fine, but I didn't think it was as good as something like the screenplay for Glass Onion or the screenplay for All Quiet on the Western Front. I feel like this is the one All Quiet on the Western Front should have won, but didn't. Oh well. I guess it was just kind of to make up the fact that Women Talking was mostly snubbed at the Oscars this year. Good for Sarah Polley for winning that one, but I would have preferred something else winning. Then we move on to Best Sound and Best Original Song. Best Sound went to Top Gun Maverick, which was the only win for Top Gun Maverick. I feel like if All Quiet on the Western Front didn't make as big of a splash at this year's Oscars, this movie would have won a little bit more, I feel like, but oh well. Best Original Song went to Nachu Nachu. Fun song. That was a really fun performance. No surprise that it won because it's won a bunch of other awards. Best Film Editing went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. No big surprise, really. I wouldn't have been surprised if Top Gun Maverick also won this one. But, I'm really glad for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the guy who won this category says this is his second movie and he won an Oscar. That's fascinating to me. Best Director went to Dan Kwan and Dan Steinhardt for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Another great win for them. Best Actor and Best Actress, Brendan Fraser won Best Actor, and I was really happy. These were the two categories I was very, very concerned about. I was thinking Austin Butler was going to win for Elvis for Best Actor, and I'm really glad he didn't. I thought he was good in Elvis. Like, he definitely transformed as Elvis, but I felt more emotion while watching Brendan Fraser in The Whale. I thought he was phenomenal in that movie, and his comeback story has been complete. I'm really glad he's back. And Best Actress, I was so worried this was going to go to Cate Blanchett because, she's been winning a bunch of these awards. She won the Critics' Choice Award. And even though she already has 2 Oscars already, I was really worried that she was going to win again. Not that she was bad in the movie. She was great in the movie. It's like, I would have really preferred seeing Michelle Yeoh win this category. I thought she was tremendous in that movie. I'm so glad that she won this category. But I'm also still upset that Danielle Deadwyler from Till did not get nominated for her performance in that movie. Oh well. And then we go on to Best Picture. Everything Everywhere All at Once won. It was a sweep completely. So glad it won. It was, in my opinion, the best of the Best Picture nominees this year. So out there, so insane, so ridiculous, so meaningless, and yet so full of meaning. Well acted. Pretty much everything about it was tremendous. And it was really great to see Ke Huy Quan reunite with Harrison Ford. It's like, you knew when Harrison Ford was announced as a presenter, it's like he's presenting Best Picture and giving it to the people from Everything Everywhere All at Once just to have his moment with Ke Huy Quan again. It was just, that was sweet. And one thing I really like about this is that a lot of the winners actually seem really humble to win. It's like, it definitely didn't feel fake to me. Like, a lot of people, especially from Everything Everywhere All at Once, they were really happy about it. They seemed like really glad that they made this movie and that they won all these awards, which I feel like if this movie was made like 10 years ago, this movie wouldn't have been like the big Best Picture winner it is now. So I'm really glad that a lot of the winners, particularly like the 4 acting winners, Michelle Yeoh, Ke Huy Quan, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Brendan Fraser, they were all really humble that they won. And it's just, that was very nice to see overall. But even though I'm really glad that this movie won all these awards and a swept basically, I'm a little bit worried about a backlash against it. I feel like a lot of people are going to, if people go out and see this movie or, search it out, I feel like a lot of people are not going to like it. It's definitely very out there. I feel like for a movie like this, you kind of need to know your audience to because I know I've told a couple people, maybe you shouldn't watch this because of some things that kind of appear in this movie. But I also I'm like, I really want to show people this movie because it's just such a ray of positivity and it's just so good. And it's just kind of a movie that we just really need. It's really well done. It's well acted. Everything about it is great. But I worry it's going to be like one of those movies that gets backlash just for winning Best Picture. And I don't want that to happen. But it also, what I noticed is that even though there was like a bunch of other movies that were nominated, none of them won anything. Like Banshees of Inisherin, nothing. Tar, nothing. Fabelmans, nothing. Elvis, nothing. I figured Banshees of Inisherin and Elvis would at least win one, but no, they didn't. Not at all. I was actually really surprised by that. But that happens. Usually the Academy loves to spread its love to other movies just to say, hey, we gave you something at least, so this isn't wasted or anything, even if maybe you don't deserve it. It didn't happen this year because there was just a massive sweep. But oh well. Now let's move on to the host. Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel for a second. Jimmy Kimmel's kind of a reliable host, and for the most part, he did all right. Like, his opening monologue I thought was pretty funny. Some of his bits afterwards just didn't really land. Like, there were a couple funny bits, like he brought out the donkey from Banshees of Inisherin. That was funny. There's this moment where he's like interacting with the audience, which kind of didn't work for me. I remember that was a joke from the time Neil Patrick Harris hosted the Oscars, and it didn't really land then. But oh well. I kind of felt like after the monologue, he kind of just stepped back for a bit and didn't really do a whole lot. Also, it would have been really funny, like if during that whole like interview scene, because they had that giant bear because they were making jokes about Cocaine Bear, and it would have been funny if it was actually Matt Damon dressed up as the Cocaine Bear. That would have been really funny, but no, they didn't even think of that. Jimmy Kimmel led a very safe show given what happened last year, but I don't know. Maybe he played it a little too safe, is what I'm trying to say. As far as the presenters go, they didn't really do a whole lot for me. Some of them did fine, but like most of them I thought were just kind of forgettable, even though I like all these actors. Like Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson, they presented the first category, Best Animated Feature. They tried to do a comedy bit, but surprisingly, the comedy in Jungle Cruise was better than this. I never thought I would say that. Also, Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors co-presented Best Cinematography together. They gave a shout out to Angela Bassett because that was after she lost Best Supporting Actress. That was fine, I guess. Also, I guess Paul Dano and Julia Louis-Dreyfus tried to have a little bit of a comedy bit. It just didn't really work for me. Elizabeth Olsen and Pedro Pascal tried a bit, but it just didn't make me laugh. It's like you could tell Pedro Pascal is laughing because he has to say one of the nominees, but which I won't say. Elizabeth Banks presented Best Visual Effects with with a giant, not a real bear, but like a cocaine bear, but like someone dressed in a bear suit. And it just wasn't that funny to me. It definitely seemed like Elizabeth Banks was like under the weather or something, like her voice was just cracked or something, and it just didn't work. And I felt like, I don't want to say it didn't work, but like it kind of seemed awkward when she was just presenting, and you can tell her voice is not really her voice is not there right now. John Travolta, surprisingly, was one of the better presenters. And usually he's like one of the presenters that people make fun of, like obviously the situation where he mispronounced one of the singers' names. Here it was actually very sweet because during his speech before the In Memoriam segment, he gave a little shout out to Olivia Newton-John, which I thought was sweet. I don't even like Grease that much, but that was a very sweet move. No one else really stood out in terms of presenters. I like the majority of these actors, but like I just felt like they were given nothing to do. As far as performances go, a couple of them were pretty good. The Nacho Nacho performance was great. The Lift Me Up performance was really good. This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once was really funny because David Byrne had the hot dog fingers. That was the only really funny one. Lady Gaga, I thought was just okay. She's performed at the Oscars several times, and this may be her worst performance. I thought her performance from Star Is Born was better. I thought her performance from 2016 was better. Even her Sound of Music tribute was better than this. But overall, the show was better because I think it just kind of played it safe. And also, I did like a lot of things in the presentation. Like, no matter the category, they always had all the nominees in the back, like, showing, like, what they were. I thought that was very sweet, and I kind of like that they show, like, filmmaking is not just, just the director. It's not just the actors. It's not just the movie itself. It's just everyone. And I thought that was really well done. And it's definitely, they show their love of movies for this ceremony. You can definitely feel that in, like, after 2 years of COVID, people are finally going back to the movies, which is ironic because Kimmel made this joke. Even though Tom Cruise and James Cameron brought people back to the theater, they didn't actually come to the Oscars that year. And I just thought that was so funny. I don't know. Maybe I heard Tom Cruise was filming a movie, but maybe because he was avoiding Nicole Kidman. So what's James Cameron's excuse? I don't know. But like, you can definitely tell that there was a love of movies that we kind of took for granted, and love of going to the movies, which we also kind of take for granted. I thought that was really well done throughout this entire show, which I feel like that's also kind of forgotten about at the Oscars. So because of that, I think the show is a little bit better than average. I thought the host was mostly funny. I thought the winners were pretty good. The presenters themselves were just fine. Like, they didn't really do a whole lot, but oh well. And performances were pretty fun. The winners were, I like the winners. This was a better ceremony than the last couple, like the one last year or the one where they were really strict about COVID. This was definitely, I hope the Oscars kind of continue with this and kind of like, show their love of movies and actually show their appreciation for all categories, mainly by actually presenting them this time. So overall, the Oscars, I thought they were pretty good. So what did you think of this year's show? The winners, the hosts, the presenters, everything, everywhere, all at once. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.